Okay, so the last tower that I need to talk about in this update that's been reworked is the Ace Pilot. Now, I've gone on record to say that previously the Ace Pilot was one of the best towers in the game purely because it was a cheap tower that you could buy for 1,500 coins, and it performed its job very well. Now, obviously, things have changed since then. It's now 3,500 coins, but is the Ace Pilot any good? Well, previously it was alright. I would say the only use I got out of it was during hardcore mode, but even then, like for example, Shane used the Archer when I used the Ace Pilot. So I'd say the Ace Pilot, it's been significantly changed since those glory days of the Ace Pilot from like 2020 to 2022 or something. But how about now? Now, the first thing I want to talk about is the fact that apparently it has hidden detection permanently given to all towers. Now, the thing is, this was actually a change that was made a while back. This change was made on the 21st of June 2024, so it's been in the game for basically over a year. It's just that the upgrade description, I think, still mentioned the 15 seconds from the start of the wave, or the 30 seconds from the start of the wave, and I don't think it was ever mentioned in the update log, nor did I ever mention it when I actually made the video on Ace Pilot Reworks. So yes, this version of the Ace Pilot does give permanent hidden detection from the level that I'll get to later. However, it's always done that since the 21st of June 2024. It's just that now, with the rework that the Ace Pilot's gotten now, people have started to realise, oh wait, this gives permanent hidden detection. This is in contrast to the Firework Technician, which only gives hidden detection at the start of the wave, depending on which level it is at. At level 1, I believe, well, at level 0, sorry, I believe it is about 15 seconds, not too long, and obviously only starts from the start of the wave. If you're doing hardcore mode and the souls come up from the Void Reaver, it's not going to be any useful to them. Now, for the Ace Pilot to truly shine, you're going to have to get a map that actually suits it. So, not a straight map, but something like Grass Isles, for example, where its range or circling range basically suits Grass Isles. Perhaps on purpose. I'm starting to think that the Ace Pilot's circling range was based on Grass Isles' path. Anyways, for the Ace Pilot, its base cost, the placement cost for the Ace Pilot has increased from 450 to 550. Now, this is kind of a slight issue because in hardcore mode, which is probably the most used version where the Ace Pilot is used the most often, it means it's gotten more expensive and probably means that you need to wait for about 3-ish waves, I think. I don't know because it's 50% and I haven't played hardcore mode for a while, but it is a lot more longer, and $100 does make a difference in hardcore mode. However, to compensate for this, the damage of the Ace Pilot has doubled from 1 to 2, bearing in mind that in the glory days of the Ace Pilots, the Ace Pilot from level 0 actually did deal 2 damage, I believe. So I think this is good. Meanwhile, the fire rate has actually increased from 0.15 to 0.2. That counterbalances the fact that the damage has increased from 1 to 2. However, its range has increased from 7 to 7.5. Now, for the Ace Pilot's 0.5 damage is actually quite a big difference. Obviously, the speed of the Ace Pilot hasn't changed, so if you don't reverse the Ace Pilot, these speedies can get through. However, the reverse cooldown for where the Ace Pilot goes back has actually reduced in time from 10 seconds to 8 seconds, which is pretty good because you can now manage the flying path of the Ace Pilot so that it can attack enemies more efficiently. Means you have to manage the Ace Pilot, yes, so if you're lazy in the game, big issue for you, but it can actively handle faster enemies if you reverse it. Now, the Ace Pilot still has a placement limit of 8, so you can't have more than 8 Ace Pilots placed down. It used to be 10, but they nerfed it in a update. So, while yes, you can actually spam the Ace Pilot, there's not going to be a whole load of good places to spam it. So, my advice is probably stick to like either 2 or 3 if you're really that desperate to use the Ace Pilot, but otherwise upgrade them. It makes sense. But at this level in particular, the DPS has increased from 6.33 to 9.62. Now, obviously, cost efficiency is going to be like less than 100 because of the fact that the Ace Pilot isn't attacking all of the time. But the cost efficiency has decreased from 71.09 to 57.17. Again, you shouldn't really compare the Ace Pilot's cost efficiency to something like the Soldier because obviously the Ace Pilot's going to beat it all the time. But again, the Ace Pilot isn't attacking all of the time, and there might not be a suitable place to place down the Ace Pilot, whereas there's always going to be a suitable place to place down the Soldier, unless the map is called Mount a Million. Unfortunately, last time I checked, Mount a Million isn't in the game. But yes, the Ace Pilot has been, I guess, buffed, but again, more expensive, so probably less utility in hardcore mode, or you have to wait a lot longer in hardcore mode. Anyways, at level 2, the upgrade cost for the Ace Pilot has decreased from 300 to 200, effectively meaning that the total price of a level 1 Ace Pilot has remained the same at 750. Now, for this, the damage has increased from 2 to 3. Obviously, the fire rate remains the same from level 0 at 0.2, which is an increase from 0.15. Furthermore, its range has increased from 7 to 7.5, again from the earlier level. Therefore, the DPS for the Ace Pilot has increased from 12.66 to 14.42, thereby its cost efficiency going from 59.24 to 52.01. Therefore, this is actually the best cost efficiency level wise for the Ace Pilot. So, you know, if you want to spam level 1 Ace Pilots for maximum cost efficiency, go ahead. However, if you want the splash damage effects of the Ace Pilots, get its bombs, $350 for its upgrade. This is the same price as it was before, meaning that the total cost has remained the same at 1,100. Now, everything remains the same from level 1, except the fact that the bomb explosion range has increased from 2 to 2.5. Yes, you get a slightly larger explosion range for the bomb. Now, it's nothing like the mortar's explosion range or the rocketeer's explosion range. It's a bit more conservative. However, 0.5, you can hit like maybe one more enemy. It doesn't have a max hit limit, but you know, a 0.5 increase in explosion range, not that big of a deal. Yes, the bombs do count towards the Ace Pilot's DPS, so it has increased from 15.16 to 16.92, thereby its cost efficiency going from 72.56 to 65.01, which is still reasonably good. It's second best for the Ace Pilot, and the fact that its cost efficiency can decrease further if the bomb can actually hit multiple enemies. However, I just wouldn't rely on this as like a splash damage tower. Then again, it can be relied upon for, say, lead detection, because it's the only way that you can detect lead through the bombs. But bear in mind, again, that's a hardcore exclusive feature. Meanwhile, as for level 3, its upgrade cost has increased from 1,500 to 1,850, thereby meaning its total cost has increased from 2,600 to 2,950. Meanwhile, its normal gun damage has increased from 3 to 4. Its splash damage has increased from 18 to 20. Its explosion range for the bombs has increased from 2.25 to 2.5, as it was the case at level 2 for the Ace Pilot. Meanwhile, its fire rate has actually decreased from 0.13 to 0.1, thereby there's an increase in damage and an increase in fire rate. Meanwhile, its range has also increased from 7.5 to 8. What does that mean in total? Well, the Ace Pilot's DPS has actually gone up by a significant amount, going from 27.06 to 42.04, thereby meaning the cost efficiency of the Ace Pilot has gone from 96.08 to 70.17. Now, this was an upgrade that I actually typically avoided. I always went up to the bomb upgrade if I needed to, and even if I didn't, I probably wouldn't even bring the Ace Pilot or just leave it at level 1. But this has made this level at least, worthwhile. It's like this level used to be like the starting point of where the Ace Pilot became an tower. The Ace Pilot is still, I guess, an tower, but if you properly manage it, I think it can be a good tower, especially moving on to level 4 where it gets hidden detection and it hidden assists nearby towers. It's a thing I mentioned before. It gives permanent hidden detection to nearby towers within 7 range of its runway. The problem is it doesn't show this range anymore. I don't know why, but then again, it doesn't actually show its placement range as it used to. That's really odd. Anyways, the cost has decreased, upgrade cost, from 3,500 to 3,250. So the total price of the Ace Pilot has increased by $50 from 6,100 to 6,150. Barely anything. For this, the damage has increased from 6 to 7. The bomb damage has increased from 25 to 30. The bomb fire rate has actually increased from 1.75 to 2, balancing out the damage increase from the bombs. But its explosion range has increased from 2.25 to 2.75. Its fire rate has been changed because of the previous level from 0.13 to 0.1. Its range has increased from 8 to 8.5. Meanwhile, the hidden detection range within the Ace Pilot's ring is still 7. But all of this means is that the Ace Pilot has been buffed from 59.4 DPS to 79.81 DPS, thereby its cost efficiency going from 102.69 to 77.81. Now, it's a tower that fares pretty well against something like the slow boss if you have multiple of these, but obviously you're going to have to manage it so, you know, you reverse it just as the slow boss gets out of range. Otherwise, you know, it's going to get out of range, as you can see here. Now, previously, the Ace Pilot, what I would use for is to get up to this level is only for hidden detection. I wouldn't use it for DPS. DPS from this level for the Ace Pilot was not too great, I'll be honest. Now, it is somewhat decent. I wouldn't say it's amazing or spectacular, but it's pretty decent, especially if you can manage the Ace Pilot. Meanwhile, for level 5, its cost has increased from 7,500 to 8,000, meaning that its total cost has increased from 13,600 to 14,150. It still gets a speed increase of 35%, which is good. It can outpace the fast enemies. Its damage has increased from 10 to 14. Its splash damage has increased from 35 to 40. The fire rate has actually increased from 1.25 to 1.5, balancing out the splash damage increase. Meanwhile, the explosion range has increased from 2 to 3. Yeah, weirdly, the bomb explosion range at level 5 actually decreased from 2.25 to 2 previously, but now it's actually increased from 2.75 to 3, which is good. Its fire rate has remained the same at 0.1 as it was before, and its hidden detection range remains the same at 7. Meanwhile, its range has increased from 9 to 9.5. Thereby, its DPS has increased, not by a crazy amount, 120.59 to 156.26, meaning that its cost efficiency has decreased from 112.78 to 90.55. So the Ace Pilot always has a cost efficiency less than 100. Effectively, that means it's a okay-ish tower at endgame. But because of its circling thing, I wouldn't say it's a reliable source of damage. I'd still prefer to place down a Ranger. Still prefer to place down a Golden Minigunner, for example. I wouldn't say this is the best DPS. Now, obviously, I haven't placed these Ace Pilots optimally, but how well does it fare against, say, the Patient Zero, for example? I actually didn't have the Patient Zero. I only had the Gravedigger. Right, let's see. Okay, I still wouldn't say it's that great against bosses. Again, I haven't placed this optimally, but yeah, against bosses, it's still not great. That's the one issue with the Ace Pilot. That I don't think it's been completely solved. But then again, the Ace Pilot can hit flyings, hit hiddens, hit leads indirectly through its bombs. It's a buff, yes, but much like the Militant, I'd say it's a buff. Unlike the Militant, I do actually get the point of the Ace Pilot. It's more suited towards hardcore mode for a higher price, so you're going to have to balance that out. But hardcore mode is going to get reworked soon, so we'll have to wait and see on that. I guess it makes the higher levels of the Ace Pilot more usable compared to what it was before, and it makes the earlier levels slightly more expensive for more DPS. So it kind of like balances out everything in the end. It's an okay-ish tower. It's still not the best tower as it was in 2022, but it's a decent tower.